everyone, I'm Andrew Vargas and I'm a realtor in Southern California. And lately I've noticed a lot of misleading information from many realtors nationwide saying that the next recession will likely not impact housing prices, all with little to no context to support their hypothesis. I personally feel responsible to provide you objective information so you can make the best informed decision. Earlier this summer, many realtors shared on social media an interesting chart showing how home prices were affected in the past recessions. Specifically how the recession prior to 2008 actually showed home prices grow, which gave them reason to imply that home prices will likely go up or not be affected in the next recession. Their thinking is because lenders nowadays are a lot more strict with giving out home loans. Also, the 2008 recession was heavily tied to housing through subprime mortgages and mortgage-backed securities. But this still isn't enough grounds to assume the next recession won't affect housing. The chart these realtors had referred to was an index across the US, but in order to be precise, one must use the exact figures in the market that they work in, not an index. So these realtors are only covering the surface and keeping you in the shadows. This scenario reminds me of a book called The Republic by Plato, where he compared humans to living in a cave watching shadows on the wall, but unable to see the objects causing the shadows. So by observing the real world, it won't ever put us in contact with reality, but doom us in a lifetime of wrestling with shadows. Plato argued that only through the eye of the mind can we break from illusion and arrive at the truth. So the realtors making this hypothesis are not providing enough details. That's why it is crucial to observe, analyze, and measure the outcomes. Just some basic things to keep in mind when a recession occurs is the stock market will likely fall, which will affect the higher end housing market, since homeowners may lose confidence in their investments. This could also spill over to the rest of housing if mortgage rates were to go up or house loans are harder to come by, which those things alone will likely affect people in the middle to low end of housing. Overall, the economy is doing fine, but eventually something will give out. The economy is cyclical and there are several things going on right now that could impact housing should a recession occur. And those things are the polarity in the political system between individualism versus collectivism is causing some volatility in the financial markets, which to some extent can impact housing. The Federal Reserve has less power to counteract future downturns, and over time, the US has grown more reliant on central banks. In the fourth quarter of 2018, the stock market fell and investors began to panic. Housing prices and sales in Southern California began to fall from the inflated prices to more realistic prices. There is weakness throughout the global economy, which can lower housing demand since some markets rely on foreign buyers, like Miami, Florida. In 2015, the Chinese government placed restriction on Chinese investors from capital flowing out of their country. Things have only intensified now with the trade war, which has caused less Chinese investors from buying properties in places like Los Angeles. This has caused demand to fall in some LA neighborhoods. According to a report, nearly 23% of buyers increasingly rely on their family for financial support on the house down payment. According to another report, it is estimated that 21 million baby boomers will be leaving their homes in the next 2 decades. This will be in the areas across the Rust Belt and Sun Belt. In coastal areas of Southern California, though, this likely won't affect their market. And there is a debt problem primarily with student loans, corporate debt, and subprime car loans throughout the country. The point is, we need to look at the positive and negative forces that affect the market, because one of these forces will outweigh more than the other. That is why I look at all levels so I can advise you properly. In my newsletter, I will explain all those points I just mentioned and much more, so make sure to subscribe. Happy buying and selling.